Hey everyone. So I know I said that the next set of videos that I'm going to put out are talking about growing up with a parent with narcissistic personality disorder. Well, I am going to do the videos about NPD, what it is, and how it affects not only the person suffering from it, but those that are around them. I am going through something right now that I think that I would much rather talk about because it's happening currently, so there's a chance that you can see some of the issues that I'm having, and that's with my bipolar disorder. So bipolar disorder is characterized by, you kind of have this median line right here, which is like your normal emotional reaction, and it's characterized by having extreme lows or depressive states, and then extreme highs, which are manic states. I'm currently going into a manic state, or at least a hypomanic state. A manic state is typically marked by making things like bad decisions, which I tend to do financially, as well as like fantastic, euphoric feelings. Your brain can't shut down. It just keeps going a mile a minute. And as you might notice, my speech might be a little bit faster. These are all typical things that happen to me when I start going manic. And I can normally tell a couple days ahead of time. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm able to tell that I'm about to go manic. The great thing is that I'm on medication, so I won't go completely manic. I think what's happening is more of a hypomania, which is instead of hitting that really high point where I get all those fantastic euphoric feelings and I think everything is great and I might even have delusional thinking, I'm kind of going up, but I won't hit the top of that mountain. So I'll still have the mile a minute thinking, brain unable to shut down feelings that come with mania, and I'm still prone to making really bad decisions, which once again for me tend to be really bad financial decisions. Like, I get this idea that I think everything is going to work out fantastic and that I need to follow this game plan that I really haven't created in order to start a business, which means I need to take money to buy stock and inventory, and I need to create all of these things, and it ends up just draining my family financially. So right now, in order to prevent that from happening, I informed my husband, who, even though he's deployed, said that he will keep an eye on the bank account. And if he notices that I'm starting to spend money, he has a completely separate bank account from me while he's deployed. And what he'll do is he'll pull the money that's in our savings account and move it over to his bank account until after my mania has gone. I know that sounds like a really extreme thing for a lot of people, especially if you've never dealt with mania and some of the things that you can do while you're manic. But for me, that's a real big safety issue because that's my family's nest egg for when my husband gets out of the military, or when my car breaks down, or something breaks in the house and we have to replace it. So I can't go in and spend that money that we have in savings. So to be safe, my husband might take the money from savings and move it over to his bank account until this moment has passed. And I'm not going to just grab money out of savings because I think it's a great business venture. I also have a friend, a really good friend, who's coming over to kind of just not babysit, but to sit here with me and make sure that I'm doing things like I'm not spending money and that I am taking care of the other responsibilities that I have, which at this point include things like my schoolwork that's sitting over here, and taking care of my house, which right now is a little bit dirtier than it usually is because I cannot focus on one thing at a time and I keep getting really sidetracked. So there's that. And additionally, with my ADD, I have to take Adderall in order to get my thoughts to focus so that I can do one thing at a time. The problem with Adderall is that it can exacerbate manic phases in people with bipolar disorder, which is why it's not typically the first medication that is given to somebody who has ADD and bipolar disorder. It is the medication that I'm on, though, because it does work the best for me. But this means that I might need to be slightly more closely monitored while I'm taking my Adderall to focus on things like homework and schoolwork and taking care of my children, but making sure that those thoughts do not exacerbate destructive tendencies that I have. So because this tends to last for a couple of days, I might take a couple videos throughout the period that I go manic and explain, like, this is what's happening in my head and these are the issues that I'm dealing with. And that's just so that you can see kind of what a mania, or at least a hypomania, is like in me. Now, these symptoms are completely different from person to person with bipolar disorder. I've never really suffered with hallucinations, at least not visual hallucinations. I have suffered with auditory hallucinations, which is a thing that I can honestly suffer from whether I'm manic or not. But that's not necessarily a symptom of me going manic, although they can tend to get worse with mania. So I think that this is an opportunity for me to share that this side of me, because I don't tend to go into manias very often. I tend to get stuck in those depressive phases more than the manic phases. But because I get both the really depressive side and the really manic side, that's why I'm labeled with bipolar disorder. My medication does have a tendency to make these less severe, which is absolutely fantastic in this case, because I don't want to do things that are going to possibly ruin my life more than I already have when I was off medication. So things like my credit is completely shot because I borrowed money and didn't pay it back, or I ended up with bills and stuff like that that went into collections that now I'm having a hard time paying back because I don't have the money now, even if I had the money back then. So there are issues that come with mania, and like I said, I'm hoping to show those to you. This is actually kind of an example of my jumbled thinking. I literally just came on here and hit record without any idea of what I was going to say. So my thoughts are kind of jumping from one place to another place to another place to another place. And I really don't want to edit this video because I want you to see that progression of my thinking. So if I take video while I'm manic, it's not going to be something that I edit despite having gone ahead and looked at the free editing software that I could get online to use until I get money to get better one. But right now is not the time for me to go looking into spending money on video editing software, because I will spend so much money thinking that I need something that is more fancy than what I would actually get otherwise. So yeah, the steps that I've taken right now to ensure that I don't do too many destructive behaviors while I'm manic include making sure that I have a good friend here. Typically it's my husband, but since he's deployed at the moment, he cannot be here to be my rock, to be my person to bounce the, okay, I'm thinking about spending money on this, is this okay? So I have a friend who is fully aware that I have bipolar disorder, and she's also relatively well aware of how mania works because she's dealt with it, not herself, but she's seen it in other people. So she is going to help me make sure that I'm not doing anything destructive. My husband has been made aware, and he's keeping an eye on the bank account to ensure that I am not needlessly spending money. I do not have access to our family credit card that is being held by somebody else, so that in an honest time of emergency I can use it, but right now I'm manic, so I don't need it. And if I did, I could always send a message to my husband and be like, hey, this broke, I need this, and he can go ahead and authorize that. This isn't something that happens all the time. I'm not always bad with money. I'm bad when I go manic, and money is my big destructive habit when I'm manic. Other destructive habits I might have include brushing off doing all of my homework for the entire time I'm in this manic phase because I'll hyper focus on something else. I can't afford to do that. I'm supposed to graduate with my degree in February, and in order to do that, I have to remain on track and graduate or pass every single class that I am in between now and February in order to make that a reality. That is my goal, and while I'm manic, I might lose sight of that goal. So my friend coming down is going to help me make sure that I stay focused on that goal. Also, there's still areas in my house where I do have to clean from when I had a 3-day migraine and my children had free run of the house. So when I'm manic, I tend to focus on things that I don't need to. My friend is going to be here to make sure I focus on the things that I do need to. So yeah, I know I'm repeating myself a lot and I'm probably talking really fast, and this is just because this is how my brain is currently functioning. It's an absolute mess. It's hard to deal with here. I don't know how hard it is to be there and witnessing it, but yeah, I also talk with my hands a lot more, I'm noticing. But so this is me starting to go manic. I've been kind of going in this upwards pattern for the last 4 days or so. I think today's day 4. And this means that I'm also having problems with sleeping. Despite taking my sleep medication at 9 o'clock like I'm supposed to, I still don't end up in bed until 11 or 12 o'clock, which is an hour, 2 hours later than I normally do. By this time, my meds have pretty much like knocked me on my ass, and I haven't realized it because I'll be sitting there hyper focused on something, and then I'll pull away for a second, and I'll do something like stand up. And I had this really scary moment 2 nights ago where right as I was getting ready to go to bed, and I was like, it's 12 o'clock, I should probably lie down. Both my kids woke up at the same time. And I think what happened was one was crying, the other one heard crying and ended up waking up because of it. But I stood up, and when I stood up, I got really dizzy and really tired really fast. Like it was an instant. And as I started walking to the first room, because my kids' rooms are right next to each other. So when I started walking to the youngest's room, which was closest to me, I started getting really lightheaded, and I had that sound of the ocean in your ear. Like if you hold your ear up to like a seashell or something, you can hear the ocean. I started getting that, which is normally a sign that your blood pressure has dropped, because what you're actually hearing is the blood flow in your body. And I started getting that tunnel vision where the edges of your vision start to go black towards the middle of your vision. So both my kids had to use the bathroom, so I told them to go ahead and do that. They normally like me being in the hallway because they're young, they don't like the dark, so they like that comfort of having a parent there. So they went to go use the bathroom, and I ended up having to sit down in the hallway while I was waiting. I keep saying that if I hadn't done that, I would have been like a sim. So if you've ever played the game The Sims, you know that if you let your Sim's energy bar drop too far down, what ends up happening is they're walking around 1 minute and then all of a sudden they fall forward and they pass out on the floor. Like it's this dramatic, and they fall asleep. That's exactly what would have happened to me had I remained standing. I would have passed out because all of those symptoms are a sign of you about to pass out. So I sat down, stayed with them until they went back to their rooms. Then I ended up walking back to my bed, and I was having the same problem. Unfortunately, I also needed to eat because when I go into mania, I forget to do things to take care of myself. This can include taking a shower, brushing my teeth, taking my medications, remembering to eat, remembering to drink water. These are all things I really suck at when I go manic or when I go depressed. So I got myself a bowl of cereal and I ate it in bed, and I didn't even get to dropping the dirty dishes back off at the sink. I just put them on the bedside table and fell asleep. The unfortunate part about this is that I also slept until 10 o'clock, which means my kids got into a shit ton of stuff that they weren't supposed to because I heard them, and I remember waking up and telling them not to get into things. It wasn't like my kids were in a dangerous situation where if something went wrong, I wouldn't have been able to wake up. But I was so fatigued and groggy that I just continued to wake up every few minutes and hear them and make sure that they were safe and then go back to sleep and wake up 10 minutes later and then go back to sleep. And I know it was in 10-minute increments for like 2 hours because I leave my alarm on my phone on because if I get into this state, I will keep going back to sleep if I haven't had enough. So my alarm does not like stop going off after 3 turns. It keeps fucking going. And until I completely dismiss it. So these are the steps I take when I know I'm the only adult in the house or the only adult responsible for the children. We do have a roommate. He is typically not responsible for my children. That is my job because I am the parent. The only time I ask him to be responsible for my kids is when I need a mommy break, which happens once or twice a month, or in instances like when I had a migraine and I could barely function. So I knew that I could not meet my children's needs. I texted him and said, I need you to come home. Typically, it would fall to my husband, but once again, he's deployed. Anyway, I know I said I wasn't going to edit this video, but at one point, my child did decide that he was going to walk out of the bedroom, and I am trying to keep my children out of these videos unless it's absolutely necessary. Definitely because we are in this phase where we are refusing to wear pants. We are wearing underwear only. I did not want that on camera. So this is edited only once. This isn't like something that I took multiple videos of. I've only taken 2 videos of how my mind is kind of racing and the thought process. The only edit is because my child did decide that he was going to try to flash everybody. So there's that. Anyway, this is Me Going Manic, and the narcissistic personality disorder videos are put on hold for maybe a week or 2. Shouldn't be that long because typically I have like a 4-day lead up to going manic, then I'll be manic for 3 or 4 days, and then I will come down off of it and kind of go back to my base level. The only thing that I'm worried about is that sometimes when I come back to base level, I'm only at base level for 2 or 3 days, and then I go into the depressive state. But my medicine has a tendency to help keep me staying at that that baseline, that normal person, whatever that is, normal person level of emotion. So I have hope, but I just want to let y'all know that this is what's going on in my life and that right now I feel like I might be going a little bit crazy. So, yeah, that's about all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching.